Hey everybody, this is Afefe with Touch by Tarot. Welcome to my channel. If it's your first time here, I hope you like what you see, and if so, please hit the like and subscribe button. I am going to take a look at this Mercury retrograde, retrograde, if I could say it, a little bit deeper, you all, because I've been doing readings recently for clients who have all expressed this idea that when we talk about Mercury retrograde, there's almost this universal, watch out for what could go wrong, watch out for setbacks, watch out for delays and complications and, miscommunications and all of those things, which very well could happen. But what I feel in my spirit is that keeping in mind that it serves a purpose, a greater purpose, that when things slow down, when we are, when we sort of have to go back and review something, when we are, given sort of these flags of, hold up, wait a minute, it is because it's serving a greater purpose. And if we take the time to analyze, to think about, to review before we push forward in some aspect of our lives, then in fact, Mercury retrograde, rather than being something that feels like it complicates and slows us down, can really work to our advantage. All right. So that's going to be the intent and focus of my reading for you all today. Is I am asking Spirit to come through with a message for you about what ways Mercury retrograde is here to actually help and assist you during this time, and what it is that you need to focus on. What is it that you're being asked to review, to take a look back on, to consider as you prepare for your next moves going forward when it leaves retrograde, I believe around October 2nd or something like that. I know it's 1st of October, early October. All right, so we got another, over another 2 weeks of this. Let's make the most of it. All right, let's go in. So let's take a look first. I'm going to do 3 stacks. I'm going to look at the energy of the retrograde. I'm going to look at what it is that you can consider and should be considering during this time, and always advice from Spirit. Energy of the retrograde, what it's here to teach or remind us to review and look back on, and advice from Spirit. One more clarifier. Okay. Yeah, I had some really interesting conversations, and even in my meditations, because we do, we go, must be Mercury retrograde, and especially when it relates to travel and delays or plans that we make, things come up and happen. But I also, it occurred to me, hey, these things happen for a reason. And sometimes those delays or postponements, in hindsight, right? Hindsight is 2020. Hindsight can prove to us that, hey, okay, I see now why that happened. It's not meant to trick us up. Sometimes it's really meant to give us a heads up. I'm going to do 4 cards in each section, and then I will, and of course I'll show you all the cards, and then I will, I'll clarify if it seems like we need it. Okay. All right, got it. All right, you all, let's go in and see what's happening here. So my first stack, as I said, is I want to get a feeling from Spirit around, the energy of this particular Mercury retrograde, which I do believe is coming in Libra. So what we have, really interesting. We have the 7 of Pentacles, time of appraisal, consideration, going back, right? That's in line with a Mercury retrograde, because it helps us, take a step back, reconsider, revisit something in order to move forward on it. We have a 9 of Wands. All right, so 7 of Pentacles, what we are considering, Look at him standing there. So what are you considering? You know, this retrograde is asking us to consider in the area perhaps of relationships. What are we thinking about? How are we, how are we able to take a pause so that we can not operate so much from our emotions and our feelings about the relationships, but the reality of them, how they are serving us, how we can best serve ourselves and others in that relationship. So there is that appraisal that's taking place. And then we've got that 9 of Wands that comes. So there's a lot of energy that's being expended. And it could very well be that the reason for this appraisal is you're tired. Some of us may be a little, really pushing, really feeling like we are persisting in a relationship. And it doesn't have to be romantic, of course. This could very well be in relationship to our business. All right, for those of us who are in business, it could be in relationship to our colleagues within that business. And of course, it could be in relationship to our families and our loved ones and our romantic partners. So there's a lot of work with that 9 of Wands coming. There's a lot of work, and there's this consideration that's being given with that 7 of Pentacles. Like, let me take stock of this. So that's what this Mercury retrograde is coming for, because look, we got anger. Let me read this to you. It says, strong emotions of displeasure, frustration, hostility, or irritation, boiling point rage, seething, or ill temper. All right, it's coming together. This Mercury retrograde is helping us head some of this off at the pass. Because if you're operating in that 9 of Wands energy, which means you are putting out in what area of life, whatever area of life I should say, that has been really calling your energy, that you have felt pulled to just do it all, there could be some underlying anger that's starting to simmer, or that has been simmering for a while. And so that's why there's a need to take a moment, step back, get out of the emotion of anger or frustration, or feeling like, there's so much pushback. I've put forth so much in that 9 of Wands, and what am I getting in return? That's the appraisal that's taking place. So this Mercury retrograde is saying, hold up, because our final card here is release control. This Mercury retrograde is saying, it's bringing us an energy of having to evaluate the extent to which we are putting out energy in our relationships, and perhaps not getting as much back as we thought we should, or we expected to, or just getting burned out to the extent of it's starting to provoke some resentment, some anger, some sense of frustration. And what Spirit is saying, this Mercury retrograde is saying, there's a lesson here about releasing control, doing what feels natural to you, doing what feels within your ownership and your responsibility, but not going overboard to the extent that you are burned out. Because we know when we get a 9 of Wands, the next step up is that 10, which is complete, like, I'm done, I'm over it. There is a call to persist when we see a 9 of Wands, but the persistence needs to be smart. It needs to be based on what's going to help you grow versus doing the same old, okay? All right, so that's the energy of this retrograde. Now, the lesson that it's bringing and the area of life that may need to be under review. We said it was coming in Libra. And we are almost in Libra season. We will be in Libra season by the time the retrograde leaves us, okay? And so sure enough, here we have the Justice card that comes. Ruled by Libra, about relationships, about balance, about fairness. So if part of what is happening is the energy that you've been called to put out, or that you feel you must put out, you're feeling a little put upon. You're feeling like it's not quite fair. Maybe others are not picking up the slack and not doing what's expected of them. So there's this need for rebalancing. All right. That's part of what the lesson and what you are being called to evaluate during this Mercury retrograde. Taking that step back to appraise and taking that step back to evaluate, because what needs to happen to bring things into better balance? What is fair? What is your notion of fairness at this time? We have the moon, very, very appropriate, because this is about, whereas this is more about a practical aspect. Here we get into, what is your vision for it? What are you dreaming of in terms of what it is that you really desire? Why are you putting forth the energy in the first place? What is it that really needs to be seen? If there is a worry, I'm feeling that if there is a worry that you're having, that if you don't do this, and this, if you don't keep pushing, if you don't summon the energy, if you don't try harder, if you don't stand up more, if you don't have the responsibility and bear the weight of things working out in these relationships, there's a light that is being shed on that. And this retrograde for you is about saying, let's take a moment in stillness, in the stillness of the night, because the moon is a very, mysterious card. It is a card of the divine feminine. It is a card of our dream state. It is an energy that calls us to think about what light needs to be shed on, right? What needs to be illuminated? What needs to be brought from your subconscious to your conscious thinking? That's what this is talking about, because that's what's going to help reach that state of equanimity, that state of fairness, that state of rebalancing and reconfiguring whatever it is that needs to be reviewed during this retrograde. Keep your heart open. First quarter moon in Libra. Wow. How awesome that we pulled that. Keep your heart open. And I think that's also why the moon has come here, because that anger that we saw in that first portion, if there's this almost tilting into a state of anger, frustration, ill temper, being just sort of, anxious and just ready to snap. Here it is. Keep your heart open, because there is something that is going to be shown to you through the process of this retrograde. And that goes back to my intro when I said it serves a higher purpose. It's not just meant to frustrate you or delay you or postpone things. It is meant to help you review something or call something to your attention, so that when you do move forward, when it clears out, when that retrograde clears out, it clears out with this open heart and with this illumination, with this better vision. Because perfectionism, that's why some of you are driving yourselves so hard. Let me read to you what it says here. It says, fear of imperfection, rejection, or the loss of control. We had release control in our first section of the energy of the retrograde. Look how that ties together. So for some of you, there's this, you are driven to make things right. You don't mind stepping up and doing what's necessary to fix things, to be the first one to say, I'll do it, or I'm sorry, or how can we make it right, or what else can I do? You don't have a problem showing up. But there's this notion, Spirit is saying, in this retrograde, think about the ways that you have been driven to perfectionism and having that control, wanting that control, and the extent to which that may have tilted you out of balance. So that could be stemming, or helping to cause some of that anger and frustration that may be simmering just beneath the surface, or even starting to boil over, because you've been driving yourself so hard to get it right, to do it right, to stand up or measure up to others' expectations. And so rather than it working out in a very fair and equitable way, the way justice in Libra, ruled by Venus, love, relationships, right? Beauty, arts, you know, all those things that make life worth living, the cooperation that we want from others, that we want to give others. But if it is so bogged down in, but it must be right, but I must be right, but how are others going to view me? And therefore you drive yourself too hard. That's where it tilts over. That's where it tilts over into the possibility of burnout. That's what that Nine of Wands was also about, taking us back to that. Spirit doesn't want you to do that. And this Mercury retrograde coming in this very, very strong Libra energy. Notice that we've got it in two aspects here. Libra ruling the Justice card, and Libra here. Keep your heart open. All right? So very much this Mercury retrograde is about rebalancing how much you give out, how much comes in, and managing your expectations around that, and especially the expectations around yourself in terms of what you feel like you have to measure up to. All right. And finally, in the area of advice from Spirit, how we do that, there is the Seven of Cups with the Nine of Pentacles. So there is a choice that you are going to make, that you're being urged to make, around the best way to get the most out of your situation, to get the most out of your relationships. The Nine of Pentacles are about manifestation and gains being made. In a financial reading, of course, this is about money coming in or opportunity for money. But in the context of this retrograde and the relationships that we're talking about, again, all manner of relationships, work, love, familial, even the relationship to self, right? All of it. There's what do you gain? And how do you make the best choices for yourself? Because with that Seven of Cups, we have to remember there's no shortage of options. You are not stuck. And Spirit is reminding you that you're not stuck. There's any number of approaches that you could take. This seven coordinating with the other seven that we started out with that Seven of Pentacles. Seven being that spiritual number, going deeper on a spiritual level. All right. So that appraisal is also appraising what your options are. Because with the Seven of Cups, there's no shortage of options. It's just that sometimes we can get so hung up on, well, again, going back to that perfectionism, it can slow you down in making a choice because it's got to be the right choice, And if I don't make the right choice, then what can happen, et cetera, et cetera. And so then you wind up kind of spinning and you sit there, just looking at what you could do rather than getting up and taking action. All right. So Spirit is saying, take the action that you see that could lead to the most gain in the relationship. The gain, if it is business, the gain of success and profit. If it's the relationship, the gain of trust, the gain of, of the good vibrations, the gain of having that loving, open heart that we saw, right? It is making sure that there is growth, and do what brings the growth. All right. We have go deeper. New moon in Scorpio comes up in our moon manifestation deck. So this is saying, go deeper as you prepare to make your choices. Think about the long-term goal. Don't just think about what's expected at this present time, but think about long-term. How will you come out of this relationship, or how can you build this relationship? And again, even with yourself. With Pentacles, I should mention also, Pentacles will come up very often in the area of the body, in the area of health. So what gives you, go deeper. Scorpionic energy is that energy that tells the truth, that won't accept anything less than the truth. And perhaps in that regard, if you do tend to go into perfectionism, that can work to your advantage, because it means that you are the type of person who will have a tendency, you want the truth. You are willing to face it. You are willing to adapt to it. You are willing to do what's necessary once you recognize it. It could also have to do with why we saw that moon, the illumination that we talked about, where the truth is revealed. All right. But there's something here that Spirit is saying the advice is go deeper. Don't just settle for the easy fix. Don't just settle for, okay, I'm sorry, I'll do it better, I'll do it differently. Don't just pacify yourself or others. Go deeper and come up with solutions to move you forward that are really going to be more satisfying in the long run, and that are gonna pay off in the long run with that Nine of Pentacles. And final card, beautiful, you all. Resolution. I'll show it to you and I'll read it to you. Resolution. And it says, positive outcome from a challenging situation, remedying, restoration, reconciliation, breakthrough, and freedom. All right? What an incredible, incredible card to end this reading on. And in terms of that advice from Spirit, Spirit is letting you know letting us collectively know in very clear terms that the energy of this Mercury retrograde, that on the one hand may feel like has prompted a sense of frustration, a sense of recognizing just how much we are putting out, or feeling compelled to keep going, keep going, keep going, make it work, fix it, do it, that there is something else that is being brought to light. And it's going to require us to keep our heart open and know that there is resolution. There is a balancing act that's going to be struck. There is equanimity. There is fairness. There is an idea that you are growing something, not just in the context of your relationships, but in the context of yourself. Because the more you are able to see the role that you play and release that control while keeping your heart open, the more the balancing act begins to take place, because you will see the role that you play in the circumstances, and therefore be able to take ownership of just how much you are willing to do and just how much it is not your call to make. It is not yours to do. It is not your weight to carry. All right? Keeping things rebalanced. All right? Oh, that felt really good to me. I hope it did to you as well. Please let me know your thoughts, and please enjoy. Remember, this is not happening to reverse or slow you down. It's happening, the retrograde is happening to advance you, but advance you smarter. All right? Talk to you soon.